This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Well, he's finally got the hang of this.
You like that now? No more sort of placing things. I'm on the laptop. I'm at fight camp. We're ready to go.
What's the hair situation saying? Let's have a look.
Not the best. I've noticed a couple of messages I've had from people who've cut my hair saying, do you want a little trim? We're doing this, masks, etc. And yeah, it's. I think I need to sort of get something done eventually.
But you've declined all offers to make yourself look more appealing.
Yes, I think that I already look very appealing. So, you know.
Is that Bazza in the background?
Bazza in the background, yeah.
Well, you got everyone's pulses racing, shall we say, didn't you, over the last few days with your proposed idea for Matchroom Fight Camp? So, how long have you been working on it? When did the idea first come into play?
Probably for about, well, over 2 months now. You know, just before the lockdown started, we filmed our Fighting Fit series from here, from the garden, because we were going to film it in a studio, and then basically, you know, things started progressing in terms of the virus, and before the lockdown, I think everyone just felt more comfortable doing it outside. So, you know, it was a situation where when we were filming out here, people started talking about, God, you should do a show out here. You know, you imagine staging a fight out here. And as a kid, I always used to look at the lawn when, you know, when my dad was promoting boxing, thinking, it'd be unbelievable if we staged a fight there. And, you know, you've been to workouts that we'd held here before. Remember when we used to put rings up down there? And everyone...
Super Series, you've done that, didn't you?
What?
When Frotch was fighting Andre Ward in the Super
Series.
Series.
66. And everyone used to say the same thing. Wow, imagine that. You know, you've got London at the back. You've got the house at the back as well. So I just felt that when we bring boxing back, I don't want to do it in a studio. I don't want to do it in an enclosed environment that just doesn't capture the intensity, you know, the moment, the energy. And here it's going to look very different. And obviously we're in a privileged position to be able to do it. It's a huge amount of work. There's still a lot of obstacles to overcome, but we're in a good place. We're targeting the middle of July. This week, we're starting to reach out to a number of fighters and their teams and their managers to see if they're going to be ready to go. But the phone ain't stopped ringing. I mean, messages coming through social media since we announced we didn't announce, just, you know, a article went out in the mail, and all the fighters have been on just saying, you know, I'm ready. Let me come into fight camp. So really now the focus is to speak to those people, make sure they will be ready, but still a lot of hurdles to overcome, ongoing conversations. We've had them this morning, more this afternoon, about testing and ultimately making sure that everybody's safe to carry this out effectively. And that's what we will be doing. It's a huge amount of investment it's going to go into not just the testing, but the hotel facility, fight camp here, the canopy in the garden, the ring being erected, changing rooms being built attached to the house and stuff like that. So it's a massive project, but I'm excited. And the response was so good on Friday night that it's kind of just given me a little shot in the arm to say, keep cracking on.
What comments have you got back from Robert Smith regarding your idea?
Robert's for 2 months. So we've already told
Eddie, repeat that. It just cut out.
That we've been doing.
Eddie, repeat that. It just cut out.
Robert Smith's known about this for a couple of months as well. You know, everything that we've done in preparation for this has been alongside the British Boxing Board of Control, because there would have been no point just coming out of our own plans for the board to say, actually, you can't do this or you can't do this. So, as I said, still hot obstacles to overcome, but the board are behind this as long as we follow the regulations that will be put in place by them, obviously the government as well. And yeah, everyone's geared up, ready to go. Like I said, still some things to overcome, but we're all committed to do this and to bring boxing back in July.
How much is this all going to cost, and how much money are you going to lose doing this?
Well, on the latter, hopefully as little as possible. Don't really like to lose money. You know, business, I always say to people, business is a competition. For me, it's not about how much money you make. It's about where your targets are. Can you hit them? Can you overcome them? Can you beat them? We know that obviously our numbers, our trading period from 1st of July to 31st of June next year, aren't going to be as strong as they were this year, because we're going to have to make a significant investment. You know, I don't know what it's going to cost, over £1 million to put this together. We've got no crowds, you know, but what else you can do? You know, we've built our business to a position where we can withstand this kind of swing. And that's one of the reasons we work so hard. We've got money in the bank, you know, and I think actually now, one thing I'm worried about for fighters now is to make sure they get paid. And I actually think that the British Boxing Board of Control now, I think money and purses should be lodged with the British Boxing Board of Control. Because you know what, Cougar? A lot of people will take a punt on a show in the hope that they'll sell some tickets and, you know, we might be able to make everything work. Now, unless you have substantial reserves in the bank, you shouldn't even be allowed to do a show, because how does the finances stack up? You know, we're going to lose money on every show, but what's the alternative? I haven't worked this hard for 10 years to build boxing to a level of maybe the number 2 sport in the country, just to let everybody else come back and take us over again. So we've had a great run. Now it's time to reinvest in the sport, make sure that we keep thriving, make sure that we keep that momentum going. But I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend money and lose money on boxing in a studio, you know, in a dark room where we can't deliver that, like I said, that intensity and that quality of TV show. Because I promise you, when you tune into Fight Camp, and we'll be running all week, like literally 24 hours a day, you know, updates from here, Sky going live, Wayne's press conferences, obviously testing results. It's going to be drama all week. And when we come back, I keep saying this, it's not about competing against other promoters. This is about competing against other sports. So every sport has got their idea right now. Every sport is saying, you know, oh, we're going to try this, we're going to do this. Well, this is our version. And I want the broadcasters, I want the sponsors to look at boxing's version and say, wow, that is compelling. You know what? Boxing behind closed doors can be done. And actually, we've seen from the UFC, the intensity of boxing. It's not like the Bundesliga that you saw yesterday. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Boxing's different. You're going to hear the punches landing. You're going to hear the body shots and the fighters wincing. You're going to hear every word that's said in the corner. So we have to work off the positives of that and say, actually, let's make this compelling. And part of that is by using an arena with drones and fireworks and all that kind of stuff that not only is compelling to the viewer, but also can make sure that the fighter can deliver a performance, because they will feel the nerves like they would do if they were in an arena when they see the setup here.
So are you going to do 4 shows back to back, like every week over a 4-week space?
That's the plan at the moment. Everything's subject to change, but the plan is to have a 1-month period where we stage 4 shows, culminating in possibly Whyte Povetkin at the end of that as well. Again, you know, and let's just be straight here as well. The guidance from the British Boxing Board of Control was guidance. It's a work in progress document. You know, originally they said no title fights. They said no international fighters. And that may be the case in the early part of Fight Camp. But as we progress, you know, I want to stage Terry Harper against Natasha Jones. I want to put a world title fight on here. You know, we're going to look back one day and say, wow, do you remember when we did a world championship fight here? Do you remember when we did Whyte Povetkin here? So I want to make history. I want to create memories. And the best way to do that is in an arena with amazing fans. But we haven't got it. So get over it. Play the hand you dealt. Deal with this now. And that is the plan, a 4-week period of 4 shows. And then once we get to August, middle of August, end of August, that's the next phase. So from September, you know, are we back in venues? Can we have 1,000? Or are we still behind closed doors? This is obviously outside. As we go into September, we'll create a new environment, maybe indoors. But again, it can't just be 4 walls or some little gym somewhere. It's got to be compelling, and it's got to look the dog's bollocks, because that's what boxing is. It's the dog's bollocks, and that's what Matchroom are. We are the dog's bollocks. We push the boundaries, and that's what we're doing.
So what is the proposed date for the first show of this 4?
Again, still work in progress, but July the 18th is the proposed first date at the moment. That could come to July 11th. That could go to July 25th. We're not in a tearing rush. We want to bring boxing back as soon as possible, but it's got to be right. And actually, the longer we wait, the less obstacles there will be to overcome. I mean, right now, we're working on the basis of, if we brought boxing back today, these are the precautions we would have to put in place. We hope, you're talking about 8 or 9 weeks, you know, we hope that by then the situation looks much, much better. We'll still be carrying out complete testing of everyone that sets foot into fight camp. But we hope by then things have relaxed a little bit. But again, we have to work on what we do know, which is the situation now.
So the fourth show, if you're going to do 4 back-to-back shows, the fourth one, the proposed idea is for that to be Whyte Povetkin.
Yes, at the moment, yes.
At the moment. Do you know how long people involved with a specific fight week will have to quarantine?
Well, what we will do is we will have everybody quarantined in one hotel. So what will happen is the fighters, broadcasters, our staff will arrive. You will go into a separate area of the hotel. You will go into a testing facility. You'll get your room key. You'll go in. You'll take your COVID-19 test. You'll go straight to your room. You will stay there and you will not be allowed to leave there until you get the results of your test. Okay? Once you get the results of your test, if you are negative, you can go out into the hotel with our team. You can come in here to fight camp. And if you're positive, unfortunately, you will have to leave the premises. It will be secured. We'll have security in to ensure that everybody takes note. The fighters obviously will come earlier in the week. And then as we progress, people will come later on. So Sky, our staff, who knows what's going to happen with you, media. We just don't know at the moment. You know, we want to keep as fewer people here as possible. That's the plan. You know, we're probably looking at somewhere between 80 and 90 people in total going to be here at fight camp. But only people that have passed tests, only people that have tested negative will be allowed on this site. And only people that will test negative will be allowed in the fight camp hotel to move around within that group.
Are people allowed to leave the quarantine situation? No, after the fight. What happens after the fight?
Well, yeah, after the fight, people are free to go home.
Okay, so they haven't got to stay for a period of time after.
No, you've taken your test, you've tested negative, you're around an environment, a sterile environment, where everybody else in that environment has taken a test and has tested negative. And after the event, you can go home.
I'm assuming like whatever hotel you're going to use is going to be exclusively to you, and there won't be no obviously outside people there.
No, there's different hotels that have different buildings. There's another hotel we're looking at to take exclusively. But everything, even if you think about these big hotel chains, you really want to be in a big hotel because they're not going to open until they adhere to the government guidelines as well. Do you know what I mean? But the plan obviously is not to have someone test and then go and sit in a breakfast area next to someone that hasn't tested. Otherwise, that would be a waste of time and money. So everybody that gets tested has to be in the same environment. And that's why when you come into fight camp here, so it's not just fighters, it's officials, it's Sky, it's our staff, it's everybody that will be here at fight camp and in that hotel has tested negative.
You have in your plan outlined a proposed section for media, but you don't really know what's going to be the situation with that.
You know, me and you joked about it the other day where, you know, we just don't know. I mean, look, to be honest with you, we have so much to overcome here. I want as fewer people here as possible. So in the outset, I don't think we should have media, to be honest with you, initially. As the weeks progress and as we understand and as we overcome mistakes or problems or obstacles, yeah, of course, we want as much media here as possible. But, you know, the situation is the same, Coog, as well with press conferences. You know, we don't want people together. We want to keep people apart. So press conferences will probably be Zoom calls where fighters will go into our press area at the hotel. They'll sit down in front of a computer. They'll do their bit and they'll go. You know, but again, we're 8 weeks away from the start of this. A lot's going to change. But right now, my feelings are as fewer people in here as possible.
Well, it's all very, we'll say exciting. It's just...
It's exciting. You have to look, in an ideal world, you know, we would have been at the O2, we would have been at Manchester Arena, we would have been, you know, in all these different kind of places. By the way, people walking in the background here are all builders and people working on the house and getting everything in order. So, have
you started work on it now, like as in building prep? Yeah.
You know, we're trying to keep everybody at home, but you know, Frank's in today, my dad's in today. You know, we're having various meetings, planning meetings. You've got the builders in here, people planning on and building the fight camp facility. It's not, unfortunately, you can't make a decision on this in 6 weeks' time. We're planning, and this planning's been going on for 2 months. So it's to make sure that, we're in a situation where we can be ready, because it's not just going into a studio. Like I said, this is a massive operation.
Whyte Povetkin, obviously that will feature on pay-per-view. So of the shows you're proposing to do, that will be the only pay-per-view one that comes in that first period.
Correct.
Sorry, just picking this back up. Ed, so yeah, out of the shows you're talking about, the Whyte Povetkin one will obviously be on pay-per-view. Any effect to pay-per-view pricing?
No. I mean, obviously, I think the pay-per-view numbers are going to be solid. You saw ESPN producing some great numbers recently. More people are at home. And by the way, I think, a lot of the government decisions about live sport is they want people to stay home at the moment. And it's a good way to make sure that people stay indoors by giving them live sport to watch. So, we'll come back in July. The Whyte Povetkin fight will be in August as well. It's the plan for that. And I think the numbers are going to be very good. Obviously, you've got 15,000 people that were due to attend Manchester Arena to watch that fight. So, I think the numbers are going to be good. Obviously, you're not going to be able to watch it in pubs, which can sometimes affect the numbers as well. But those people will be at home and they'll get the chance to watch it as well.
How strong will your 4-fight undercard be?
4-fight undercard will be basically the same. I mean, we're still planning Katie Taylor. Hopefully, we can still get the Serrano fight away. We've got Callum Johnson for the European title. We've got Quigley against Callum we're playing. So the card will be pretty much the same as it would be in Manchester Arena. I think the difference you're going to see in these shows is there won't be anything before the live broadcast. You know what I mean? So normally, as you know, we'd start a show at 4 o'clock. We might do some on Matchroom YouTube. We might do some on Sky Sports Facebook. That won't be the case now. We'll just start transmission from 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And that'll be the same with the Saturday night shows as well. There'll be 5 fights. We want to make as much of those championship fights as we can over that 5-fight period. But unlike other shows where we might be getting a prospect out, we might be getting a local ticket seller on, of course, that won't be the case.
Fighters' purses, how much are they affected by this in that period, especially
well,
the
I think, I don't want to drop anyone in it, but every promoter that I speak to at the moment is saying we need to now start controlling fighters' purses because they're getting out of hand. And I have to agree. I think that is correct. I think one of the problems boxing's been faced with is the fighter purses have increased to a point where I have no problem with a fighter making huge money, but the numbers have got to stack up. And also, it's got to be a fight that people want to see. So for me, I know that other promoters are now going to try and make sure that fighters take less money or bring purses down because, and that's not mean, that's just, maths. You haven't got the gate money coming in anymore. The only way you're going to make shows work is to reduce cost. And the major cost of a show is purses. I'd like to go away from that and say, I don't want to reduce purses if we can help it. I just want to make sure that we're putting on proper fights. And I think this is a good excuse for us to reset boxing, with broadcasters as well and say, look, purses don't have to change, but the fights you take do. Because if we've only got 5 fights here, I can't afford a shit fight. I can't afford a warm-up fight or a tick-over fight. Do you know what I mean? Because it's giving me, I'm losing the opportunity. I've only got 5 opportunities now a night to give you great fights. And I'm going to get moaned at whatever I do. So I don't want to get moaned at. So I want to make sure that every fight we do is as close to a 50-50 across those 5 fights. Now, listen, sometimes a younger fighter is going to come off and kick off the show. They're not going to be in 50-50 fights. We can't be irresponsible and just say to a fighter, sorry, mate, you got a 50-50 fight or you're not fighting. He's thinking, not me, I've only had 4 fights. He wants to sling me in a 50-50. But we've got to get as close to that as we can. And I think the great thing about all British fighters is just that. Do you know what I mean? Because we know what we're going to get now. And fighters who are ticket sellers, who can't now get out and can't now fight on shows, will be looking to take chances. So when you look at fighters like, I don't know, kicking off the show, right, might be a guy who was supposed to be having a tick-over fight. Who can I give you an example of? Jordan Gill or Ted Cheeseman, right? Just for examples. They were both supposed to have 6 or 8 rounders at the O2. So no problem doing that. But you've now got to fight X from Manchester in a proper fight over 8 rounds. Do you know what I mean? So before we even get to the championship fights, at least we see those warm-up fights as actually competitive fights against the guy you know who's actually coming to win as well, and a proper fight. So I'm excited. And my job this week is to go to all the managers and people like that and say, okay, this is your potential date. This is the fight we're looking to make. Are you happy with that? It's not just a case of, no, okay, off you go. It's a case of, no, okay, what about this one? And if it's no, 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 okay, we'll see you in November, December, or we'll see you next year. Who's ready? Who's ready to fight? So in that respect, and, you know, my new friend Dana Whyte, we do need to go follow a little bit of the UFC model and say, well, hands up who wants to fight. Hands up who wants a real fight. Okay, these are your options. Yes, I'm in. I'm having it. Matchroom Fight Camp, sign me up.
Have you had any fighters that have kind of, say, not playing ball, but are reluctant to either because of financial reasons or fighting behind closed doors, or that they're not going to be ready? Have you had them conversations with fighters?
Very, very few. There is a couple of fighters that have either said, I won't be ready for that, or, you know, only the ones really. I mean, we've got like 8 or 9 weeks, haven't we, till the start? So if you haven't been keeping yourself in some kind of nick, maybe you can't make it, you know? But I'd like to think that you are in some kind of nick, and you should be, because you're a pro. So 90% of fighters are ready to go. They just want to get out. They want to carry on their career. Listen, I was talking to AJ. AJ wants to fight here at Fight Camp. You know, I don't think that's necessarily going to be an option, but he wants to fight. This is what you do, mate. You want to fight. I want to go back to the office. I want to go back to work. That's what I do. So fighters generally, yeah, listen, I'm sure fighters would prefer to fight in front of live crowds. Of course you would. That's not going to be an option in the interim, and it may not even be an option till next year. So be a pro, get prepared, and get a fight in the bank. Get your money in your bank, progress your career, and let's go.
Any quick quarantine questions? You know, because you're involved in, obviously, every production that's got to run week to week. Have you just got to stay where you are then and not move?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I will have to come into the Fight Camp hotel. I would have to get tested. And if I leave that hotel at all, then I will have to be retested. But, you know, similar to, you see, Dana White's had, 4 tests now? Something like that. So I really, for me, I'll probably just stay in the hotel throughout the whole of Fight Camp, which will be a right touch. But don't tell the missus yet. Hopefully she's not watching this.
What did you make of Dana White's comments about you recently?
I think what I like about Dana is there's so much. I hate the fact that people can't wish success or happiness or you know, on others. And I just feel like with karma, if you start resenting people's success and achievements, it's going to come and slap you right on the arse. And what I like about Dana is he's happy in himself. He's happy with his business. If people are doing well, he has no problem championing that. And I just sent him a message like 10 days ago, and I wasn't sure about, you know, whether ethically he should go as early as he done, but he's proved me wrong. He's cracked it. He's made it safe for the fighters. He's a go-getter. He's a trailblazer. And, you know, without sounding all lovey, Dana White's someone I look up to. You know, he's a guy that has revolutionised the sport. He's a guy that has managed to get a sport right. And that's what I'm trying to do in boxing. And what he pointed out, and people don't really know, you know, we're probably the only successful promotional company in the world. It's not hard. Go and look at the numbers. Go and look at the facts. And what he says is we are in a position because of what we've built, because of the resources and the reserves we've built to ride this wave, to overcome it. We will emerge through this stronger. And I believe others won't. So I respect him, you know, and how many times have I said to you, you know, I say to our team here all the time, watch what the UFC are doing. Learn, study, copy if you have to. And he's gone out there, he's a trailblazer, he's a go-getter. And with Dana White, if you tell him no, you tell him it can't be done, he'll prove you wrong. And I feel like I'm cut from the same cloth as well.
When he put on his first show, obviously big news that one of the fighters had tested positive for COVID-19. But, I mean, they didn't panic. They removed the fighter as quickly off the premises as quick as possible and then carried on with the show. But if you find yourself in a situation, which is a possibility, that in all the testing you're doing for these shows, that someone could possibly test positive, is the protocol to crack on and just deal with it, and the show still goes on?
I think again, they're learning as they go as well. And I think the mistake that they made, probably openly, was that particular test took a little bit longer. So you saw the fighter actually weigh in and be in the surroundings, and that was a concern. I think, you know, and for us, you mustn't be at the weigh-in, you mustn't be at fight camp, you mustn't be around the staff and the players unless we know you're negative. And I think that was a lesson for them. Probably they learned maybe to get a fighter in earlier or push for faster testing. So for us, you won't see a fighter weigh in and come face to face with another fighter or be around anybody unless we know they are negative.
You made some comments, I think it was on Sky Sports recently, as you've always been asked, obviously, about this AJ Fury thing. And you stated that next year you think that they'll fight twice.
I do, yeah. I just feel that, listen, I think what this has shown us is you can't, you have to take opportunities when they're there. I'm pretty sure Tyson Fury is thinking, I need to make sure I get these AJ fights because that's the defining fight of my career. Financially, that's going to set up many generations of my family. And I know from AJ's side, he's desperate to fight Tyson Fury. So I think that we know that Fury's got to fight Wilder, and we know that AJ's going to fight Pulev, and we know now that Wilder won't step aside, so there's no point discussing that fight for this year. But we've just got to get those fights out of the way and also start negotiations now and discussions, which say negotiations and discussions, or discussions have begun, say negotiations have, but everybody's on the same page to make those fights for 2021, 2 fights, simple, and I'm really confident you'll get it.
Has Wilder then categorically come out and said he's not stepping aside? Is that a fact?
Yeah, and I think Bob Arum said it in an interview at the weekend where he said, look, I don't know where this number's come from. There's no discussions for him to step aside. He said in interviews, I'm not stepping aside. And you know, with everything happening in terms of the uncertainty over the future of the world, let alone boxing, he's not going to want to step aside. And we don't want to also enter in a deal where we say, oh, when we beat Tyson Fury, we have to fight Deontay Wilder and he has to get 40%. Deontay Wilder's out. He's done. He's just a voluntary challenger. So we want a clean slate where we can go into a deal and a 1-fight deal with Tyson or a 2-fight deal. But when AJ beats Tyson Fury, we don't want an obligation to fight Deontay Wilder. What's he got to do with it? He's done. He's beaten. He's just been knocked out. So if he beats Tyson Fury, we want to fight Deontay Wilder. But if he doesn't, he's just back in the rankings. He's not coming into a fight with the undisputed champion. So in that respect, it's a lot easier for us just to have a clean slate and everybody's on the same page with that as well.
The realistic chances are Joshua, Wilder, Fury will only fight once this year, won't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's no rush now. You know, before it was like, we must try and get the Joshua fight in by end of July or early August so we can get another fight. Everybody's accepted now, Joshua included, that he will only fight once this year. So somewhere between September and December is when you'll see AJ's fight. Somewhere
between. So obviously you can't answer at what end that's going to be because things.
I would like it sooner rather than later because he hasn't boxed since December, and you know it's never great to be out for a year, but it is what it is. He's accepted that. So I would rather it as early as possible rather as late as possible.
Has Bob Arum made contact with you about the possibility of this happening in Croatia?
That's really more come from Ivalo Gotsev, who's Pulev's promoter. We've had about 5 or 6 approaches from different countries to stage the fight, and Croatia's one of them. It's something we're looking at. It's a great arena. You know, we don't close our doors to any opportunities, but our absolute plan from the start is to stage this fight in the UK. And we don't know, you know, what's the situation in September, October, November, December? Are they going to start letting in 1,000, 5,000, 10,000? Maybe just nothing at all. And if we can have no crowd, I think it's very unlikely that you see Joshua Pulev in the UK.
But you said before that you don't want, obviously, Joshua Pulev to go behind closed doors, but you wouldn't rule it out completely if that.
I won't let AJ's momentum and career get disrupted by not just saying we're not doing it behind closed doors. I've spoken to AJ. He would fight here at Fight Camp against Pulev. He has no problem fighting behind closed doors, but I would rather try and make sure that that wasn't the case.
Fair enough. Are you actually getting involved in Mike Tyson's comeback?
No, someone called me a couple of times about it, and he's talking to loads of people about, sparring and exhibitions and stuff like that. And, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because a couple of my mates who don't really follow boxing, they're the old casual fans that we love. Oh, mate, Tyson coming back. I'd watch that. And then you speak to people in the game, it's like, this would be the worst thing ever. So, and I am leaning towards that side. People say, well, you done KSI Logan Paul. Yeah, but these are guys who are young and in their prime. They're never going to be fighters. That they were never that good, and they were never going to be any good. With Tyson, he is an absolute legend of the sport, one of the best heavyweights of all time. So we don't really want to see him come back. But people will watch, and if people will watch, people will pay. And if people will pay, generally someone will make it happen.
But would you only get involved on like an exhibition style thing?
I don't even like exhibitions. I think, what is an exhibition? So what, you're going to charge people to watch an exhibition? It's either a fight or it's not, is it? What's an exhibition? You go in, joke around. Problem is with an exhibition, it can be so cringe. I'd rather we had a fight than an exhibition.
What, actually a proper licensed fight?
Yes.
Properly...
Yes.
What, match
rather
against
than
someone
an
his own age? Not
an exhibition. Yeah, but if you do an exhibition, you go in there, everyone's like joking around, running around the ring. What's that to watch? Either you have a proper fight or you don't. So I don't even want him to fight. But I'm just saying, if he's going to do one of the two, I'd rather he had a proper fight than an exhibition.
So at what level were sort of whatever conversations you've had regarding this at all?
Nothing. Just they want to know how much money I'm paying.
That's what everyone wants to know, though, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Billy Joe Saunders, Ed. What's the crack? What's the latest with?
We wait really on that. We got Canelo and Golovkin. I think the Zone would love to put the two straight in together, but Golovkin has a contract to fight Zerameta. He's mandatory, and if that's the case, then Canelo will be looking at a fight as well. It's difficult flying a Brit over to fight in America at the moment, but we hope that changes over the next few months. We had agreed terms for Canelo to fight Billy Joe Saunders, no contract. But we'd like that fight to still take place. And we hope that Canelo will be looking to fight in that period as well, September to December. And we hope they choose Billy Joe.
Because obviously boxing could return in America next month. Obviously Bob Aaron's talking about putting on some shows in June. But behind closed doors, obviously similar situation. But something like a Billy Joe Saunders Canelo is
hard, Coog. When you're talking about taking $10 million on a gate, same like with an AJ fight, it's not just, you don't just say, oh, we'll just do it anyway. Fighters, what you can go to Canelo and say, listen, mate, you got to take 8 million less, and Billy, you got to take 2 million less. It's not, they'll just turn around and go, actually, I'll wait. So it's our job to try and make things happen. And it's going to be difficult for the big fights. That's why when we're doing our shows here, I just want to make great fights. If you look at like what Top Rank are sort of not announcing, but what's rumoured to return, it's just world champion against a mismatch. I don't want to do that. I think this is our chance to reset. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And I want to make real fights behind closed doors. And as we get the model right, make the bigger fights behind closed doors. And then hopefully the crowd will be back.
Have you had any discussions about YouTube boxing, whether that be KSI or Jake Paul?
No, not at the moment. Not at the moment, no.
On the back burner?
Yeah, on the back burner. I'm sure it'll happen again. We've got a lot of concepts that we're working on at the moment. I mean, one thing that has come out of this is I've been working so hard on alternative programming, shoulder programming, documentaries, ideas, books. And I've been putting so much work in over the last couple of months on all of those kind of things. I mean, you've seen 6 different shows, series launch across our YouTube. The Hearn and Bellew show, Talk the Talk's doing fantastically well. Next series drops 7 p.m. tonight, Matchroom Boxing YouTube. And I think I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about where the business is going. And, yeah, I think it's been a good time for us. I think we've seen growth in the company during this period, even if that hasn't been economically.
Can you make some comment on Teofimo Lopez calling Devin Haney a bitch? And
yeah, I think let's look at that lightweight division right now. I mean, how good is that? You know, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, Vasily Lomachenko, Luke Campbell. You know, so many great lightweights out there ready to fight, and that's a division I'm really excited about. Teofimo and Devin have had this beef. You know, they sparred a while ago, and as always, everyone's got different versions of what happened. But Teofimo just come out and said, yeah, well, we reached out to Eddie Hearn and we never heard back. I was like, what's a load of bollocks that is? So I just went back and said, who'd you send that to? You know, we'd never had one bit of correspondence from Teofimo Lopez or from Top Rank. And if we did, we'd snap it off and we'd fight Devin Haney against Teofimo Lopez tomorrow. So if the Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez fight is going to be difficult to make, which it is at the moment, we're happy to make Devin Haney against Teofimo Lopez in a unification fight. And I can make that in the States as soon as we come back.
What is the plan for America? Obviously, at the minute, you're focused on what you're doing with Matchroom Fight Camp, but...
No, we're focused worldwide. I mean, you know, we've got Italy as well. That was the first one where we lost 2 shows in Italy. Plans there. We're not too far away from a restart there. America, our plans are to come back in late July as well. Might even go into August as well. But it's about getting it right. There's meetings with the Zone this week to talk about how the schedule relaunches over there. Very exciting plans. So every market's different. I mean, I think for us, UK will start first, or Italy may start first, but they'll all be similar kind of time periods, probably within a few weeks of each other.
Does that mean that you're more likely to be spending time here as opposed to America when your shows get going over there?
I think it all depends on the travel situation, doesn't it? I mean, I want to be at every show, like I always am. But right now, the focus is on Matchroom Fight Camp in the UK, the restart in Italy, and also the restart in America. And we're looking at various different options in America to restart. And I want to make it similar to this. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to do. Our office in New York don't have a garden. But I want to make it compelling. I want to make it different. People are just going into an arena or a studio. I don't want to do that. So, you know, like I said, middle of July here, probably end of July, early August in America.
Ed, just a couple more things before I let you go, because I know you're probably doing some building.
Battery's low as well.
Just picking up on some comments that Fury made the other day on his Instagram live he did with Mark Wright, where he kind of outlined his plan for the future, saying he wanted, obviously, his 2 fights against Joshua, the 3rd fight against Wilder, but then listed a whole host of contenders that he could possibly face, which has been a little bit of a contrast from what Fury said in the past about maybe just wanting them big fights. But he seems like he's not going anywhere for the time.
You can't really take what he says too seriously, because one day he says he wants to fight Dillian Whyte for the Diamond title. Then we asked the WBC to order that. Then he says he don't want that fight. Then he wants to. I think Fury's probably going to take the 2 AJ fights and he might pack it in. I can't speak on his behalf, but he would have done. You know, he would have fought for the world title twice, won it. He would have fought an undisputed fight for there. I don't think Fury has the same kind of hunger that AJ has. AJ wants to beat all the contenders. And also, by the way, let's not forget the Dillian Whyte situation as well. You know, if Wilder's not ready, we've got to force Dillian Whyte to take this fight for the WBC title, because that's another problem that everybody's got. We know that February is the deadline for that fight, and we'll be pushing Maurizio Sullivan to make sure that Dillian Whyte gets
Do you think that's going to be pushed back again, isn't it, surely?
I don't see why it should be. You know, it's been pushed back. Don't forget, the WBC pushed back Dillian Whyte's mandatory because they wanted an investigation into the UCAD thing. So they pushed it back a year. They got their investigation. He was completely ruled that he never failed a drugs test, nothing at all. And then all of a sudden, he's still got to wait another year. So he can't have to wait again. You know, enough's enough there. And Dillian Whyte, hopefully, you know, I'm going to say, if Deontay Wilder's not ready this year and he has an injury or whatever, Dillian Whyte must get that shot. And we've got to continue to push him as well.
Eddie, what's the latest on Fight Game?
Fight what? Oh, Fight Game?
Yeah.
So we're speaking to a huge developer at the moment, one of the biggest in the world. Actually, I think they are the biggest in the world, about the concept at the moment. Long way to go. We've got the investment to start. And yeah, I mean, again, it's completely out of my knowledge zone. I know nothing about computer games at all, but we've got some very smart people involved. It's not going to launch, if it does launch, until 2021 anyway. But yeah, plans are in place. We've probably had 3 or 4 meetings about it at the moment. And we've got a game manufacturer very excited about producing it.
Is this going to be obviously Matchroom endorsed?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would be Matchroom endorsed, but it wouldn't be limited to Matchroom fighters. It would be, we would approach every fighter in the world, every major champion, about being part of this game.
But you would have seen Ryan Rhodes is involved in the making of a game, which obviously the news come out about that recently. Have you seen much of that?
The Sheffield game, the Steel City game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good as well. Yeah, listen, it doesn't, you know, it's not a case of, oh, we're producing a game to, you know, rival the Sheffield fight game. It's going to be a huge global game. And it's going to be... Sorry?
I said, will it definitely happen? It's not just, this is...
No, it won't definitely happen. But we've engaged a game manufacturer that wants to do it. We have people that want to back it. And the response that I've seen means that it will be hugely successful. So certainly not a given, but we are talking to the right people and everybody seems to share the same appetite.
What's the chances that you're on the front cover of it?
Probably about 100%.
You mean that as well? You mean that?
Oh.
All right, listen, I'm not going to let you go, Edward. Just some closing words,
okay, mate.
For people.
Closing words. Listen, we're over. You know, we're on the downslope, aren't we? We're about to return. So I think, although this has been a testing time for everybody, let's also remember it's been a pleasant time for a lot of people to spend time with their family, to refocus, to recharge, and get ready. You know, if you're a business owner, if you're an employee, doesn't matter what you are, things are going to be very tough. And the smartest and the people with the best work ethic and mindset will survive. So get ready to go 1,000,000 miles an hour, put as much work as you can. These last few days and weeks, soak up the sun this week, recharge, take a deep breath, and understand that things are going to be difficult. Things aren't going to be easy. It doesn't matter what level you're at. But we all start the day we return from this. And just work as hard as you can. But most importantly, be happy. And I wish you Godspeed. We're working as hard as we can from my end to bring boxing back to you guys and to make sure we can return safely. And hopefully one day you'll see us back in arenas and we will, you know, I think one thing this has done for rights holders and events holders, and not that we take fans for granted, but we understand the importance more of how fans, the impact they have on a sport. You know, if you look at the Bundesliga yesterday, listen, it was football, isn't it? But fans make sport. Fans make atmosphere. So we've got to respect them and we've got to give them what we want. And when we get back in an arena, I'll be giving you so much bang for your buck. I can't tell you, but right now I'm going to give you so much bang for your buck on your TV box or your laptop or your phone. Because viewers on Sky Sports and DAZN are going to love what they see with the Matchroom Fight Camp.
Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Cheers, mate.